So what is the next Israeli government coalition going to look like? And what does Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu need to do to pass the 61-seat threshold? Joining us with some insight is Ziv Maor, the chairman of Israel Media Watch. Thanks so much for being with us. Now,
Hi.
I want to start with Blue and White leader Benny Gantz has begun efforts to pass a law that would prevent an indicted Knesset member from forming a coalition in the government. Will the court prevent Netanyahu from forming a coalition?
Well, it's up to the court. First of all, if the court will decide so. And second of all, if this decision, this illegal decision, will be obeyed. These are the two questions at hand.
Well, would it be illegal if the High Court passed it?
Yes, of course. There is no law that justifies banning a person who is being accused to become prime minister. On the contrary, the basic law of the government explicitly says and decides what happens when you have an indicted person who is going through a criminal trial while he's being offered to assemble the coalition and becoming prime minister. This is what the law says. So there is no legal ground whatsoever to this decision, and this is, by the way, why the Blue and White Party tries to start up such a law, because currently this is not the word of the law.
All right, so we're finding ourselves in the same kind of political deadlock situation that we've seen in the last two elections, but the difference here is that Likud, or the right-wing bloc, has many more seats than in the last election. Now, Rivlin is most likely to tap Prime Minister Netanyahu as the person who is going to form the next government coalition. But is there a chance that Rivlin is thinking of an alternative, since that didn't happen in the last two elections?
So last night there was an unofficial announcement from the president's office that's saying that he is contemplating giving the decision back to the Knesset, letting the members of the Knesset decide. Once again, this is illegal. Okay, the duty is upon the president. He's the only one who's got the authority at this point to appoint the candidate for becoming prime minister. If he will do so, it will be illegal. But once again, what is legal and what is illegal is becoming a bit blur in the situation, while many persons, President Rivlin among them, are trying to do whatever they can legally or illegally to prevent Netanyahu from becoming prime minister. This is the Israeli democracy fighting for its life.
All right, I want to move now to Avigdor Lieberman, the so-called kingmaker, the tying vote here. Or the tie-breaking vote. Yeah, the tie-breaking vote. Now, he has made two kind of opposing vows here. One, to not sit with Netanyahu, and two, not to sit with the Arab parties. And then, of course, also to prevent fourth elections, but he can't have it both ways.
Is he going to change his mind?
Well, first of all, there isn't going to be a coalition without the Haredim in him. It's quite obvious. And once
so will he prevent fourth elections by joining Netanyahu, or will he stick by his guns?
At this moment, when we see the number 58 on the boards, I don't think that fourth election is such a bad option. It's not such a bad alternative. I think that, well, the guilt at the end of the day sits on the Israeli public, which each and every individual made their mind, but as a collective, we did not make our mind. 58 is not enough to form a coalition. 54, 55 is definitely not enough, especially when
you're saying to go to fourth elections.
Currently, this is what I'm saying. As long as I'm not hearing a name and a deal from a potential deserter, that what they want in return from deserting to the right-wing bloc is reasonable, is not undermining the entire right-wing policy.
Right.
As long as we're not going to have a government that gets to decide and execute actual policies. As long as this is the case, fourth elections is the better alternative.
So you don't seem to think that it's possible that there will be enough deserters who will come over to the right wing with reasonable demands?
First of all, it is possible. It is possible. You mentioned a few names. I personally think that Hauser and Handel are not the ideal names, because as long as they are indeed the right wing elements in the left bloc, without a doubt. But they do have very strong personal disputes with Netanyahu, so there is no chance that they will sit under him. But there are the names in Lieberman's party. There is the entire party of Orly Levy, as you mentioned, and maybe even Amir Peretz, a colleague from the same bloc that they ran together. This might happen, but if we are having the two socialists, Orly Levy Abexis and Amir Peretz, in the coalition, this means that actually we do not have a right-wing coalition, because these two will never allow the government to execute right-wing, economically liberal
So you're
policies.
saying that even if they did get these people to sign on, it still wouldn't be effective for
for making
policy,
things, for actually govern, and when the politicians not govern, the officials are, or so the office holders are.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I think you're the first person who came to the studio and said that you prefer fourth election. So
interesting point of view.
You will be remembered for that comment.
Well,
thank you for joining us.